Kyle Klingman of Track Wrestling with a moment we captured over the summer of Jack Goins, who has stage 4 cancer and renal failure. His dream was to visit the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum in Waterloo, Iowa. The Dream Foundation made that dream a reality. The Dream Foundation is an organization that makes dreams come true for adults facing life-threatening illnesses. The first component we made happen. He had a chance to visit the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum. But we had a surprise for Jack. He was able to meet Dan Gable at his home prior to the visit in Waterloo, Iowa. We have footage of the visit to Dan Gable's home, and we have footage of Jack visiting the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum, which you're about to see.
Jack, I think you might know this fella here.
Dan Gable? Jack Goins, Mr. Gable. Yep. How's it going? I'm on top of the world right now. So you didn't know you were coming here?
No, sir. He did not.
No. You did not? You know you're in Iowa?
Well, yes, sir, I know that, but I didn't know I was...
Well, don't you know when you come to Iowa that Dan Gable and Iowa are kind of similar?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, I do that. But I didn't know I was going to... Even Kyle didn't tell me anything about it.
So you were going to go to the museum?
Yes, sir.
But that's about 100 miles away, so I got to watch my grandkid play baseball in the first round of sub-state tonight. My oldest grandkid's 15. His name is Gable, by the way, first name. And so I've got to follow that. And so we got Kyle here, and got Jimmy Miller, I believe, that's going to show you around the museum tomorrow, I believe. But here today, you're at my home.
This is your home?
It's my home, yeah.
Where's your man cave at? I saw it in the video.
It's right there.
Right there?
Yeah, that's my man cave, and I got a lot of stuff here.
Rocky?
Yeah, Rocky Jim's in here. Yeah. So man, you are updated. Yeah. You got a protection here, a dog?
That's Nick's dog.
Oh.
From a service dog.
Yeah, I had a bunch. My wife had it. We got a bunch of grandkids. In fact, I got a farmhouse right there that I have. My youngest daughter is married there with my two youngest grandkids. But they had a bunch of friends, and I got a swimming pool in my backyard. It's 100 degrees today, so it's a little bit hot.
Yes.
But you know, that's all right. I had sweats on today.
I believe it.
I did. I had sweats on. You know, I got done working out, and instead of going in my sauna, I just put a plastic sweat on and sweat a while. It's because I feel good. It makes me feel good. So.
I was wondering about the sauna thing. I didn't know if this is quite sauna weather or not.
No, it's sauna weather, but sometimes I take a break from it when it's hot enough where I just put a plastic sweats on, because I love sweating, just sitting out in the, because I got a lot of aches and pains, and when I get deep heat, I feel it.
This is personal for me because I think about the what-ifs of this time of my life. What if I had an opportunity to compete in the pre-trials? The same pre-trials Dan Gable qualified for the Olympic teams in. What if I had met or wrestled Dan Gable? I think making this trip will give me an opportunity to connect again with one of the happiest and most fulfilling parts of my life. I believe this trip would bring me a sense of belonging and closure, and I tour the museum and possibly attend a tournament in the place Dan Gable founded for the love of the sport we both share. People don't understand this, Kyle. You might. You're a journalist for the wrestling. Nick's a coach and a former wrestler. And Dan the same, and me. But most don't understand how we are. It's here, and it's not going away. And out of all the things that could have possibly been requested or granted, this is all I wanted.
Okay, I appreciate it.
It's fact.
Yep.
I never thought in my life, really, that this would ever happen to me. Never. The Dream Foundation making this, and then you coming here to, that circle's closed.
Well, I live here. This is where I live. You came here. So, appreciate it. Yeah. And you're going up to the museum tomorrow, and
Yeah.
you get to see a newly renovated museum that's still being worked on, because right when you think it's new and done, more history happens. That's what it's all about, you know. And we gotta take care of our sport, and this is actually a good thing for our sport. Being here together with you, it's going to make some news, and it's just one more contribution that I can make and that you can make to the sport, because our sport is a great sport, but we got a ways to go to catch up with some ones that are above us a little bit. You know, basketball, baseball, football in the United States. And it's unique. It's a tough sport that people sometimes say, well, I'm not going to get my kid in that sport because it's too tough. That's exactly what we need. So I mean, some of my grandkids are really good football, really good baseball, but they're taking wrestling because they need that. That's going to help their baseball. That's going to help their football. There's some toughness that's involved in our sport, unlike any other sport. So that's why you're here standing right now. You're pretty tough.
If you could, just tell me about how you met Jack and how all this transpired.
Well, I met Jack randomly. You know, he called me one day. I was actually away in Thailand, and he had randomly saw my gym when he was up in the plaza and kind of rekindled some old wrestling spirit. And he called me and kind of told me that he'd love to kind of get back into wrestling. Said that he really missed it, and so I openly kind of invited him, and he came into the gym and kind of immediately saw that something kind of really neat that was really making a difference, and I could tell that he was a wrestler and that it was something really, really good for him. So it was really just by chance of him just kind of finding my location and calling me and me kind of having him come.
Why was this trip important to him?
This trip was important to him because I think it's a closure trip for him. You know, he's in a tough spot right now, tough circumstance at this point in his life, and he again kind of randomly found out about this from a guy he was doing dialysis with. Told him that there was a Dan Gable museum, and I think Dan Gable was always a hero of his, and I don't even think he knew this place existed. And when the doctors told him that he didn't have much time to live, I think that him coming here was something really, really special. And when he found out that he could come here, they told him that he wasn't able to travel alone and that he needed a companion. So he kind of called me up out of the blue and said, Nick, I got something that might interest you. I got invited to go to the Dan Gable Museum through the Dream Foundation. The Dream Foundation is kind of like the Make-A-Wish Foundation for children. The Dream Foundation helps dreams come true for terminally ill adults. And so he called me and said that he had this opportunity to go to the museum and have his dream come true, and wanted to know if I could be his travel companion. And I said absolutely. It's this whole thing is something really, really powerful, kind of beyond everyone, and so I think this is important to him because it gives him closure and really just kind of makes him happy and at peace at home.
Overwhelmed. It was everything and more than I thought. Well, wishes and dreams do come true.